Welcome back to our video textbook for small groups communication at Western Nevada College. We have come a long way in a relatively short period of time. So my congratulations to each and every one of you for staying with me and staying up to speed with the course. As I've been receiving from your comments and emails and phone calls, a lot of this of small groups communication makes a lot of sense. I'm happy. As we see the end in sight for not only this course, this semester, and these videos, we have 2 more left after this one. I wanted to share with you maybe one of the most practical issues that many of you will encounter. By the very fact you're in this bachelor's program for organization and project management implies that at some point during the line, you're going to be involved in some kind of ongoing project, short-term or long-term, big or small, with a lot of people involved. Many of these people you cannot control. The people that are the vendors or the suppliers, or the people downstream who are the clients or customers. You can only control what you can control within your space and time. As such, communication is even more important in a longer term project with a big, diverse group with different interests and maybe even different priorities. So we're going to talk about communication in project management. I have seen so many mistakes, so many snafus in longer term projects, usually revolving around communication problems. One of the biggest problems is intentionally or not keeping people out of the loop. Everybody in a project, even though they may not be actively involved in one part of it, needs to be aware. It's this combination of small term focused attention on the specific things we can't control right now, as well as big picture awareness of where we've been, where we're going. That is the blend. Another problem with communication is that many people, workers, have multiple bosses. They don't know who to report to, and they are caught in the middle, particularly when the bosses do not communicate with each other. I have had numerous instances of workers saying, I don't know who to respond to. I'm going to make one person kind of satisfied and anger the rest of the people. In any kind of ongoing project, there has to be one manager that is not so much the ultimate boss, but the coordinator, if you will, of everything going on, the ringmaster, if you will, of what's going on. Yes, there'll be different circus acts around them, but the ringmaster has to coordinate what's going on so that the workers know what to do, for whom, by what time. As you can see, and you probably experienced it yourselves, there are so many communication problems. A lot of times, one person or one group doesn't know the specific deadline of when there has to have something done. So many people downstream are waiting for that to be done, and they can't do anything, particularly if you're working with contractors or subcontractors. Many of them will say, if they're not ready, I'm going to go start working on another project. Yes, and you lose those people for the time being, which disrupts the overall flow of the ongoing project. This is very old-fashioned, and it still works. I believe that everybody involved in the project needs to be aware of the overall timeline of what's to be done, for whom, by what time. Now, this is something that can be and needs to be posted online or in visual here and now terms of where we all stand. So hopefully everybody has an email at the beginning of the project of what the overall timeline is. And it's as simple as this classic timeline of just looking at it and marking dates of which to be accomplished with specific tasks. You'll see on this that some of those lines are bigger than other lines. So some of these points are more important than other. Big steps, having inspectors inspect at the different times. So this is a working copy so that everybody should have a copy of this. There should be, if there's a whiteboard somewhere at a centralized office, this should be there. Everybody should be reminded of where they stand. Quite often, what happens is that as you start proceeding with the project, people will encounter things that they have to change. They'll say, well, we don't need to do this one at this point. We can do it over there. Or this one's already accomplished. It is a blueprint. If you've ever built anything by a blueprint, you know it never ends up the way the blueprint says it should be. It's all the blueprint is a template for where we're proceeding. The timeline is important for everybody to know, to make real, even for people at some points who are out of the loop. Those people need to still be aware of when they gear up into it. Good project managers have confided in me that when they help create the finalized timeline, they put in a fudge factor of they need it by Monday the 15th. Absolutely. But they say we need it by Friday the 12th. And so that there is a fudge factor. Here is one little secret that people who coordinate timelines utilize. Are you familiar with stock car racing or any kind of car racing that goes around in laps? That different points of it, whether you're at the Indianapolis 500 or Daytona for the 500, there are pit stops that are regularly scheduled based on the gas consumption and the tire consumption. At those times, the pit crews fill it up, change the tires, but they also adjust the suspension, adjust the wind flow over and under the wings. There are always adjustments to make. Good, savvy project managers tell me that they schedule regular pit stops throughout this process of the timeline, so that at this point, for example, we're going to have a pit stop. We're going to have everybody meet together virtually and or in person, so that that everybody is still on the same page. And if there are adjustments to make, how are we going to make the adjustments so as everybody's on board with the adjustments? I cannot tell you how many people lower down the chain are unaware that some adjustments have been made. No one's telling them that communication is the lifeblood of particularly any kind of project. The timeline is a great tool for that. So the important thing is to have a timeline and have it posted in multiple places where everybody can see it. It has a big symbolic value of having it at a central location, so it's right in front of everybody. And that is a team building experience on its own. If you are a project manager, you are also a team leader, not only making the people in your area feel part of a team, but here's some of the art of team leadership. Make the people, the subcontractors, the contractors, the suppliers, as well as the people downstream, your clients or customers, or the inspectors even, part of a team too. Continually reach out for them. Communication has a great preventive attribute to it as well. The more you communicate, the more people may be raising some questions. And part of that is, as a good team leader, you have to listen to the questions, listen to their frustrations, so that once they come up, you can address them, resolve them, and share them again with everyone. Good project managers tell me that their best skill, communication skill, is that of a listener. They rarely make decisions. Remember those old 3 C's of decision making we talked about way early in the semester? The command, the consensus, and the consultative decision makers. The project managers are great consultant decision makers, that they hear the input from everybody, they listen to the input of everybody, and then they make the decision. Again, that was that basis of one of the basic laws of industrial psychology. When people are involved in the planning process, they will be a part of the implementing process, even if what they suggested was not agreed to. If they were sincerely listened to, they will abide by the decision. And that's where a project manager or facilitator, if you will, it is important that they keep the process going, not only the production or construction or building process, but the communication process. Here's another communication issue that good, experienced project managers have told me, and it took them a while, a couple of them a while, to explain this to me, that at the beginning of the project, they define which of their communication outlets will be in which modality. And they stick with that communication modality with those people throughout the whole project. One of the problems some projects have is that who's ever in charge changes the communication modality from a phone call to a walkie-talkie to an email or going to some centralized website. And people are confused where they don't know where to find the information or even access you. Early on, depending on the type of people you have and the flow of the entire project, single out different groups or people with different roles and decide which form, which modality of communication would be most effective and efficient with those folks. It could be in-person regular communication or an extension of that, here now, real lifetime Zoom meetings. It could be using the phone or using FaceTime operation on your phone. It could be constant emails. It could be constant textings. It could be even using radios or walkie-talkies. Whatever communication medium you choose for a given group, then stick with that throughout the whole process so they know what information is coming their way and they know how to be in contact with you. That's where you become, as a coordinator, like an old telephone operator, that you're in charge of all the flow of the communication. Again, part of the loop and part of the secrets is keeping everybody in the loop, even if they're not actively involved at that point. So they know what's coming up and they know when they will be needed. Here's one other thing to keep in mind is that more and more of our workers, more and more of our supervisors, more and more of our customers and suppliers have different language orientations. They have different primary languages. That's where it is important to have good translators available who can translate using emails, but also translate verbally. This also extends to deaf populations. Have people who are proficient in American Sign Language to communicate by signing. Communication has no one language. It is a whole combination of those. And if you're sensitive to that, you can make sure that there is no communication dropped in between the boards. As you can see, communication in project management is an ongoing process, a complicated process, and you have to stay organized if you're the central project manager so that you have the awareness of what to attend to right now, with whom, and also what you have to be aware of problems occurring. And part of that is preventing those, and part of that is putting out those brush fires as quickly as you can. So it's a constant juggling process. And it is frustrating. It's overwhelming sometimes, I know, and it can be very rewarding that as the ringmaster of this big circus called the project, you can put on a great show, a big performance that leaves the audience, the customers, clients, inspectors, the end results, happy with what you've accomplished. You will start gaining a reputation then that you can do these things and you can do them effectively and efficiently, on budget, on time. And that's part skill and part art, always based on a lot of experience. Hopefully, me talking about some of these dimensions of project management, the communication of which you'll find helpful, of least avoiding the potential mistakes, as well as the things to emphasize. Go out and be your own ringmaster.